December 1962. Britain woke up to a world it barely recognized. No warning, no forecast, just silence. The kind that only comes when snow swallows sound itself. People thought it would melt by afternoon, but it didn't. It just kept coming. What started as a festive dusting became something far more sinister. A freeze so brutal it would rewrite what British winters truly meant. Britain wasn't new to cold weather. Winters came and went like clockwork. But December 1962 arrived differently. Temperatures had been dropping steadily since late November. Nothing alarming at first, just typical British chill. Then the wind shifted. Arctic air masses pushed south from Scandinavia, colliding with moisture rolling in from the Atlantic. Meteorologists called it a blocking pattern. Locals called it hell frozen over. The sky turned gray and stayed that way for weeks. You'd forget what the sun looked like. By Christmas Eve, the first flakes began falling across southern England, gentle, almost beautiful. Children pressed their faces against frosted windows hoping for a white Christmas. They got their wish, and far more than they bargained for. December 22nd brought snow that blanketed London overnight. Not the powdery stuff that melts by noon. This was heavy, wet, relentless. Roads vanished beneath white sheets, railways seized up, and the Thames began forming ice along its edges. The milkman would struggle up streets, taking 2 hours to deliver what normally took 20 minutes. But this was just the beginning. Boxing Day arrived with temperatures plunging to -15 degrees Celsius in some regions. Pipes burst across the country. Homes went without water, and coal deliveries stopped because trucks couldn't navigate the frozen roads. The government declared a state of emergency, but help couldn't arrive. Britain was paralyzed. Families huddled around fireplaces rationing coal like wartime provisions. Schools closed indefinitely. Shops ran low on supplies because delivery lorries sat abandoned on impassable motorways. Grandmothers melted snow for drinking water. People wore coats indoors, and breath came out like smoke even in sitting rooms. Farmers faced catastrophic losses with livestock freezing in fields and crops buried under drifts becoming worthless. Rural communities found themselves completely cut off, some villages unreachable for over a month. The elderly suffered most as hypothermia cases flooded hospitals already struggling with staff shortages. Emergency services crawled through streets responding to calls hours late, and the snow never stopped. January 1963 brought something Britain hadn't witnessed in living memory. The sea began freezing. Parts of the English Channel developed ice formations, harbors along the southern coast locked up solid, and fishing boats sat trapped with wooden hulls groaning under the pressure. People walked onto beaches and saw icebergs, actual icebergs off the coast of Kent. It felt apocalyptic. The River Thames froze over for the first time since 1814. Photographers captured haunting images of solid ice stretching across London's famous waterway, and some dared to walk across it. Wildlife couldn't adapt fast enough. Thousands of birds died frozen mid-flight or starved because insects vanished. Deer were found standing upright in forests, frozen solid where they stood. Power stations struggled to meet heating demands, and rolling blackouts left entire neighborhoods in darkness. Candles became currency. You'd hear about someone's grandmother or neighbor who didn't make it through the night. The cold claimed them quietly. Official records later revealed that winter claimed thousands of lives, though exact numbers remain disputed. Most victims were elderly, living alone, unable to keep warm. Businesses collapsed, construction sites abandoned, and the economy hemorrhaged money daily. Insurance companies faced bankruptcy from burst pipe claims alone, and still, the freeze held Britain in its grip. Late January teased relief when temperatures crept above freezing for 3 consecutive days. Snow began melting, and people ventured outside believing the nightmare had ended. It hadn't. February arrived with renewed fury as another Arctic blast swept across the nation, refreezing everything that had thawed. Roads became ice rinks, and the brief melt had only made conditions more treacherous. People thought they'd survived the worst. Then it came back harder. This second wave broke spirits. Communities that had rallied together now struggled with despair. Supplies dwindled further, and coal reserves approached critical levels. The government scrambled, but nature refused negotiation. March finally delivered salvation. Slowly, agonizingly, temperatures climbed. Ice began retreating, rivers flowed again, and roads emerged from beneath their white tombs. But the thaw brought its own disasters. Flooding ravaged areas where snow melted faster than ground could absorb. Homes already damaged by freezing now faced water damage. The Thames overflowed its banks, and streets became rivers. The cleanup would take months. When spring finally came, it felt foreign. People had forgotten what warmth felt like. Britain thought 1963 was an anomaly, a once-in-a-lifetime event. They were wrong. December 1967 brought another savage freeze, not as long but equally brutal. Heavy snowfalls buried the country once more, and temperatures dropped to -20 in Scotland. Here we go again, people thought. Some prayed it wouldn't last like before. This time, Britain was slightly better prepared. Lessons from 1963 meant improved emergency responses, but nature still dominated. The 1960s had become the decade of Britain's lost winters, fierce, unforgiving, unforgettable. The Big Freeze of 1962 to 63 lasted 10 brutal weeks, the longest freeze since 1740. It reshaped British infrastructure, emergency planning, and weather forecasting. Today, those winters live only in faded photographs and survivor memories. Climate change has made such freezes increasingly rare. Children now ask about those winters and can't imagine Britain like that. 29 consecutive days below freezing in some regions, thousands of lives lost, an entire nation held hostage by weather it couldn't control or predict. The snow eventually melted and the ice retreated, but for those who lived through Britain's lost winters of the 1960s, the cold never truly left. When Christmas came wrapped in snow that year, it brought more than festive magic. It brought survival, it brought loss, and it brought a reminder that nature always wins. People still check the forecast obsessively every December because you never forget cold like that. Trust the warnings, prepare for the worst, because sometimes winter doesn't just visit. Sometimes it stays.